Hello and welcome to this week's angling blog. This week you join me on one of my favourite venues to fish, Village Pool on the Lymm Anglers Card. So one of the reasons why I do enjoy this venue is the fishing, but it's also the surroundings. Today, this morning already, I've seen a heron, a kingfisher, I've heard a woodpecker in the trees behind me, and at the moment spring just feels like it's arrived. Before we get into the fishing, if you do enjoy the video, please give the video a like, and if you're new around here, subscribe to the channel. We put a new video on the channel every Friday at 6 PM. The pool behind me does contain some quality roach and bream, and it's those fish that I'm hoping to target today using the pole. The pool does also contain a number of carp as well, and them carp this morning are most definitely active and mooching around the edges. What we'll do now is take a look at the swim, the setup that we're going to use, and how we're going to attack the swim today. So looking at the swim, I'm going to be fishing two pole lines today. I've got one in line with that tree there, round about here, round about 10 metres of pole, 11 metres, and then just in line with that tree there, round about here in that dark water, I'm going to put a second line. On that line I'm going to be feeding pellet and corn, and I'm hoping just to leave that line probably the first hour and let it settle. It's that line that I'm hoping to pick up some of them bream on, hopefully. The second line I'm going to be fishing round about here, and that is what I'm going to be fishing on Pinkie, maggot and hemp, hoping to get in contact with some of those roach and the silvers that are in this venue. Before I did the intro, I did feed both swims, as you can see on screen now. One swim with just a bit of hemp and Pinkie, and the other swim with some pellet and corn. So let's take a quick look at the setup that we are going to use today. We'll start off with the maggot rig. The elastic is Drennan Aqua. I've got that down to a 4x10 Preston Innovations maggot float. On that I've got a 3-pound main line, and down the rig I've got strung out number 8 shots. That's down to a 1 pound 10-ounce hook link and a size 18 hook. On the second rig, when I'm going to be fishing the corn, I have got the Drennan green elastic, and I have got my power top kit in. That's down to a slightly bigger maggot float from Preston. With that I'm hoping to get the stability to hold the bait in position like a corn for those bream. Obviously on this rig I'm not hoping to catch any bream on the drop on corn. I'm going to be fishing on the bottom, so I've got a bulk shot of Dinsmore weight. I've got 2 droppers, and that's down to a size 16 hook. Despite all the trees around the venue, I do know from fishing the venue that there aren't many snags on the actual bottom on this peg. So fishing 3 pound straight through, I'm hoping is going to give me a better chance of getting them carp in if we do come across one. The downside is the pool is very clear, so not having the hook link, whether that will inhibit us getting bites, we'll have to see. So side tray for today, I've got a couple of pints of Cheshire particle hemp. I'm certainly not going to use all that today, but it was what was left in the freezer, and we are going to be going out tomorrow, hopefully targeting some carp. Next to it I've got some Pinkie, got some corn for that better fish line hopefully. I've mixed up a few micro pellets, and in here we've got a few maggots just in case we can be more positive. And again, there's far too much there for the session today, because I am planning to go out fishing tomorrow for those carp on maggot, which will be a vlog that you'll hopefully see on the channel soon. So that is the swim and the setup that we're going to fish today. As I always say on the vlog, you've got to have a plan, and that is the plan. What I'm going to do now is start on that maggot line on a Pinkie, put a tiny bit of bait in, and just feel my way into the swim. So it's about 15 minutes since I first fed this swim with the hemp and the Pinkie. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use a cad pot today or fire over the top to begin with. The plan is just to fish over the top of a patch of bait that I know's there. So I know that I've put 2 little small amounts of bait there now, a bit of hemp if any fish come in to hold them. And what I'm going to do is just go straight over the top with a Pinkie or double Pinkie and just see if it's attracted any fish. I have got them shot evenly strung through the line, just so you get that slow fall of the bait through the water. It is a clear venue, so I do think the fish are going to be, feeding on sight. There is a ground bait ban on the venue, And there we go. So, you know, smell is not going to be an option really, apart from the smell in the pellets. But that didn't take too long at all to get that first indication. First fish, a little small billy, and one thing you always get with clear venues is those beautiful markings. What that tells me is obviously that bait has attracted one or two fish in, so that's a nice early indication. You know, going in and getting a bite on the drop and then a perch. They're always going to be small fish to begin with on Pinkie. With Pinkie you've got to build the swim. So I'm just going to go straight back over the top. I'm not going to feed any more bait. No matter where you fish or any time of year, whether it's a river, a canal, you will always get an early indication. You'll always get an early run of bites normally, and it can be very easy to put more bait in and overfeed the swim in these early stages. You know, you think there's a lot more fish there than there actually is. You put more bait in and you can ruin it. So I'm going straight back over the top, and there we go, we've got another bite. So that does tell me, you know, obviously there's a few fish about and they are feeding. And that's another perch. And one thing I have done is caught two fish on the same patch of bait, so I've not put any extra food in that swim. The second fish of the day, and another billy. And there we go, that bite just come just as that bait was falling through the water. It does feel a slightly better fish, and that is the species that we come for today. And we're hoping to target those lovely roach that live in Village Pool. As the start goes, 3 quick bites, and we can now start introducing some feed, because I do feel there's 1 or 2 about. So in there I've got more hemp than I have Pinkie. That is because it's a heavier bait and I want it on the bottom, and obviously it's them roach that we want to target, and one bait that roach do like is hemp. And it just shows that fish topping on top of the water, like on here today, there hasn't been that many. We've seen the carp, but there hasn't been that many silvers topping. It just shows that underneath the water these fish are very much active. You see there, just picking up another bite, and that bite is coming as soon as that bait is settling, and that's where we want to keep them fish really, in them lower layers. One thing that is noticeable is just how the quality has improved. You know, when we first started we had that tiny little perch, then we had a slightly bigger one, and now, you know, we had that roach. Now we're into another slightly better roach as well. I'll leave you guys to decide in the comments whether he's a roach or a hybrid. He does look a bit hybridy to me. Most definitely he's got the tubercles, but leave below in the comments what you think it is. So like I said before, the silver swim is telling me there's a few fish about, some quality fish in the feeding. I'm just going to go back over that other line, put some more corn in and some more pellet. I think the longer we leave that line, the more chance that some, you know, bream or quality roach are going to settle over it. It's going to be mega hard if them silvers continue to keep coming like they are to move, because I do like me silver fishing. But I'm just going to keep the other one ticking over. So I've just hooked in to the best fish of the day, and it just shows, you know, them little pinkies, all the fish like them, and it is a bream. I like bream to chub on the river. I take my time getting them in and try and make sure they get them in, because they do kill the swim. We are using a keep net today, and I'm not going to put him in it, but I do think it might be to the detriment of the swim, because I do think, you know, putting them back does spook them, but we'll see. That fish is bringing back all the memories of being a kid. The bream, or the bronze bream, were the prizes on the canal, on the snatcher, and we used to say slabba-dabba-doo, and that most certainly is slabba-dabba-doo. Let's get him out and take a look at him. And boy, does that bring back memories of a kid. you say, on the canal, fishing with my dad, 4 to 10 years of age. The Bridgewater Canal, these were the prizes, and that takes me straight back. And that is the magic of fishing. It takes you back straight away to previous memories. I've not got the scales with me today, and we won't be retaining any bream this big, maybe the skimmers, but not these ones. But that has made my morning. The birds singing and memories of a kid flooding back. Great stuff. Let's get it straight back. So special thanks to the Lymm committee today for allowing me to use a keep net for the silvers, but he's just a bit too big to be keeping in a net. Let's let him straight back. As I say, my dad always taught me never to put them back and put them in a keep net because they do kill the swim. But it's got me thinking, if that's what's on the Pinkie line, then Bream are most certainly on that pellet and corn, aren't they? And another beautiful roach just coming on that Pinkie. Lovely fishing. So one thing I do remember about them bream from being a kid is they could eat. The days where we used to feed Vanderhind ground bait and it was always secret. That was what my dad always told me to get, and my job was to mix the ground bait when we arrived, and we always used to mix it sloppy on the canal. But one thing I always remember is them bream could most definitely eat. So the bait that we've been putting in has obviously attracted the silvers and attracted that bream. Most certainly I would be amazed if we've not got bream visiting that spot with pellet and corn. What a cracking little venue it is. Peace, quiet, bream, silvers. What more do you want on the pole? Great fun.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright.
So another species, and I do know that on the canal they used to call these pommies, I think, and you did only catch them at certain times of year. But that, again, a different species coming on the bottom. So I've just gone over that corn and pellet line, and within 2 minutes the float is buried and almost certainly into a bream. And say if it was a carp you'd pretty much know about it, and there we go. And like I said, the longer you leave that line, I knew the more chance there was, you know, the bream would settle on it and you'd have a chance of, you know, picking one up pretty quickly. Key with bream is just to take your time. You know, it's like just edge them back in like that. They're gonna turn their heads and that's when you can lose them, as they turn. But that's another cracking bream. Let's get him in and take a look. And there we go, bream number 2. Didn't take too long after going over that corn line for the float to sink away. And bream definitely fall into 2 categories for me. You have the one like the one before, you know, with the immaculate scales, brown tinge, and then you have the slimy ones, and this one most definitely is the latter. I love catching bream. I don't do much of it, but it's great fun. Let's get it straight back. And the beauty of this sandbank peg, you can just drop the net and let them go. It's always great when a plan comes together. Silvers on the maggot line with the odd bream, and just leaving that line has worked. Just going to rest that corn line just for a few minutes while I have a brew. And they are fast becoming a thing of the blog because I never really take a drink with me on the bank. I get into fishing and the last thing I want to do is stop for the brew. Making the videos, you do stop quite a bit, as you can imagine. So yeah, but the fast becoming an enjoyable part of the day, and I have had an enjoyable morning. You know, them 2 Bream, they do take you back, and the silvers have been quality. Back to the silvers line, and anyone who's watched the channel knows I love being aggressive with the feeding, and I just got a feeling that the fish had come up in the water, so I've taken the bold decision to shallow up to half depth and straight away started hitting them bites. And it just shows, like I said at the start, you can go from feeding no bait and getting a few bites to being really aggressive and catching fish on the drop. And that's not a bad stamp of roach to be getting while you're resting that bream line. So the bites on the drop are fast, you do miss a few, but they're most definitely there. These roach have come up in the water, and the master of shallow, the rudd. It's blood red fins, upturned mouth, and I always enjoy seeing these fish. They are summer fish. Move back over the bream line with the corn and the pellet, and rewarded with this lovely roach. We are coming towards the end of the session now, and it has been great fun. It'd be great to end with one more of them bream, so I'm just going to have another 15 minutes trying for those bream, and then we'll call it a day. But if that is the last fish, what a lovely one to end on. So the session does come to an end there now, and despite trying for the last 15 minutes on that corn and pellet line, no more bream were forthcoming. I can't wait to get back on this venue, try bigger baits and target those bigger fish. I think would be a really enjoyable session. There is plenty of depth to the venue, so we could do a feeder video on here with pellet, and it is a beautiful place to wet a line. As you can see from the final net, there's plenty of quality in that final net, and that is what I hoped to do. The Pinkie is a bait that not many people will use, but it can catch quality stamp fish, and hopefully this vlog has just shown how you can start off feeding quite negatively with the Pinkie, but over time you can attract those quality fish in. Today really has been an enjoyable time on the bank. It really has took me back to those childhood sessions with my dad, catching those bream, and all the memories come flooding back. I've got no pictures from back then, but that's the beauty of fishing, isn't it? That it takes you straight back to that memory, and that is the beauty of fishing for me, just how it does that. I hope you enjoyed this week's blog. I want to wish you all tight lines in your own fishing. It'd be great if you could like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you all next week. Tight lines.